Well, this video is already off to a great start. It's hard to find a picnic bench in Tucson without homeless people living off of it. But I'm out here by the horse trail bike path. Kind of found a hill to sit on because there's no other benches open. And I just want to do a radio and antenna comparison, at least on 2 meters. Back home, I have my SDR set up in recording right now. That's going to be fun to edit. But that way we'll be able to see the spectrogram and also get some live recording. I have 3 radios. I have my new favorite, my Yaesu VX6. I have the Baofeng Error 15.2 that is supposedly a 10-watt radio, and also a standard Baofeng UV5R. None of the special models, just the base model. And with this, I want to compare it with the big battery and the regular battery and see if that makes a difference at all. Because my theory with the bigger Baofengs that claim they do 10 watts, they're mostly just a more stable battery, and also the watt meter doesn't care what frequency you're putting their power out on. It counts all the spurs and everything too. So I think because this is a more dirty radio than the standard UV5R and the Yaesu, it shows more wattage on the meter, even though it's usually around 8 instead of 10. But we'll test that. We'll see how it performs out here. I'm currently, it took 5 miles to drive here, so I think about 4 miles from home. There's plenty of buildings in the way, so this will be a pretty demanding test. At home, I have my 2 antenna phased array set to 5/8 length, 2 meters, and half a wavelength apart and pointed in this direction. So receiving at home, it's a good antenna setup, but it's on the ground, so it's kind of a good antenna, worst case scenario. All right. So this is part of the video that I wish I could have put at the end of this video, but unfortunately I have to put it at the beginning because this entire test was mostly a failure, just because of my location. And I think I was actually lower than my home elevation at about 4 miles away, which is really stretching the limit in the city on what radios can do. But it wasn't a complete failure. I did get some usable data out of it. This is the recording that'll be here in a couple of minutes in the video. This is my RTL SDR version 4 that was just recording with OBS the entire time I was away from home. And when I got home, I was scrubbing through just to see how well it went because I was pretty excited on the results. But I don't know what this little, I think that might be APRS. I don't know what that little digital squelch is. That's not me. But here we have a carrier tone. And carrier tones are very powerful. It's like CW, essentially. So carrier tones almost always get through. But you can see the fuzziness on the edges is missing. I don't know what this is. When I line up the videos, I'll maybe know. I think this is my VX6R when I accidentally bumped tuning knob. And it was off frequency because it looks like FM. It comes up again in a second. But that was coming through, and then I fixed my VX6R because I bumped the controls and then I locked it. Dude, that's definitely somebody talking on FM, I think. I don't know. But the data is still kind of usable because the carrier tones came through and some of them are stronger than others. So like right here, this is probably the 48-inch antenna. Again, I'll know when I start editing this video and I can get the 2 videos lined up against each other. But even though the audio didn't come through, I can see how strong the carrier tone is. Now, unfortunately, I left the automatic gain control on, but with this SDR, from my experience, if I leave tuner AGC on, it just basically maxes out unless there's a strong nearby signal. So the data is usable. I can tell these are Baofengs because they leave a little bit of a, not digital squelch, but they do like the 80808 or whatever at the end of it. You can turn that off, I think. And then the Yaesu doesn't have that. That is still really strong. I wouldn't expect it. So that's another data point. If I can see the Baofeng's little digital squelch coming through, then that means it's a stronger antenna. Some of the antennas, or some of these, don't have it coming through. I don't think that's me. That's somebody else for chunking, I think. Because when I was out in the field, I didn't know if I was hearing that like APRS squelch or if this thing was bleeding through sometimes. So this looks like the Yaesu. One unfortunate thing with at least my VX6, because it's Mars modded, I don't know if that has anything to do with it. It has frequency droop. I was tuned to 145, 145, just because I like the numbers. But I've noticed that on all antennas, all frequencies, that my VX6 droops about 500 hertz. That's still fully functional and makes absolutely zero difference, but it's funny enough, that's how I can tell that's my Yaesu. And these look like the Baofangs, but with a weaker antenna, because you can't see that little squelch tone at the end of it. Yeah, there's that might be APRS. I might be wrong. Yeah, there's the Yaesu again. It's slanting to the left. The longer you transmit, the more it droops, and I kind of got it to max out at about 500 hertz droop. Again, it'll still work perfectly fine. There's the Yaesu again. I don't know what antenna that is, but that's extremely weak. But yeah, that's the test. You can see all the different antennas, all the different radios, and the carrier tone is significantly weaker in some of these. So I'm actually kind of excited to match up the video and see which is which. Now you can see here, this is either the tuner gain control or the RTL gain control. It's dipping down because somewhere to the left or right of this, somebody's talking. And then towards the end, that one's really strong. Actually, I want to see if sound comes through. I thought I left the squelch at 25, but I left it at 50. So a lot of these don't have audio. I have the AirSpy audio on. No, wait. On my desktop audio. Do I not have desktop audio on OBS? Whatever. You'll see it later. I'll be sure to bump up the volume on everything. But on my way home, I was on the motorcycle. And normally I catch like 12 red lights on the way home, but I only caught one, surprisingly. So I was gonna do a little radio check on my motorcycle on the way home, and I got 2 of them done. I stopped at Whataburger, and so one of them was halfway to Whataburger. I think that might be it. You can see there's audio, and this is just the Baofeng AR-152 with the signal stick on my backpack. I'm not holding it. There's no ground plane. It's just my everyday radio because it lives on my backpack and rarely gets used. And then this is when I got to Whataburger, I think. No, this must be the intersection because I'm not hearing anything. So this is the first intersection. It may or may not have opened up the squelch. I don't know. But you can see audio. Like this, you would be able to hear this with a good radio. Like if my Yaesu was on the other end, I could probably pick it up. Maybe not the Baofeng because the squelch is weird on Baofengs. But I think at 130 something. But essentially, ironically, my best test was when I arrived to Whataburger and I was in the parking lot and I gave it one more try. I think that might be it. And that's the only one that was enough to open up the 50% squelch on AirSpy, and I could actually understand what I'm saying with a ton of static. So that's just a review of the video. I wish this part could have gone at the end of the video as a review of everything. I was hoping at least like 10% of the antenna and radio setups would work. That was my goal, because I wanted to push it to the limit. But I'll have to completely redo this later. But I'm still gonna post the entirety of the test, and I can use the data later. And on my next test, I'll only bring the antennas that are worth testing again, I guess, the ones that came through the strongest, and maybe only 2 radios this time because I brought 3 with me. So, yep. On to the video. Alright, so this is the antenna setup that I was dealing with for reception. It's basically 2 Wolf River coil 213-inch whips. They're extended to about 5/8 wavelength for 2 meters and 1/2 wavelength apart. They're driven equally at the that splitter, and they're 2 equal length wires going to both of them, so there's no they should be phasing at the same time and creating kind of a mild beam forming effect going in both directions through the goalposts. And I have them pointed directly at the park that I was testing from. So yeah, that's the reception situation. All right, so let's get it started. I have no idea if this is gonna work, so my computer is probably just recording the background static. There is a squelch of 25%, so, but we'll still be able to see the waveform if it's just faintly coming through, but not enough to open up the squelch. On my Yaesu, it's SMA, takes SMA male antennas, so I'm using an adapter for all the antennas. Just because a majority of the antennas are SMA female, and my Yaesu antennas, I only have a few that are made for the Yaesu. I actually forgot to bring the stock Yaesu one, but whatever. Alright, I'm going to cut out my call sign, but do know that I am calling my call sign and saying that I am testing. Get that twig out of the way. This is about to initiate a series of radio and antenna tests. Alright, starting with the 48-inch Brie. This is the VX6R with a 48-inch Brie whip antenna. Ooh, I'm off. Should probably lock these. There we go. Because this one, it's really easy to hit the frequency knob. This is the Yaesu VX6 with the 48-inch Brie antenna. Take this one off. We'll be testing that later. Sometimes it's easier just to turn the radio onto the antenna. Actually, I'm just going to leave the volume down on all of them. I don't need it up. This is the UV5R big battery on the 48-inch Brie antenna. This is going to be fun, swapping the battery 30 times. This is the UV5R stock battery, Brie 48-inch antenna. Wear out all my connectors doing this. This is the antenna I had on this radio for the longest time. Honestly, I think it's still the best 2-meter antenna, at least on the VNA, but it is not at all convenient. This is the Air 152 with a 48-inch Brie antenna. Ooh, wait. I am on low power. I think I checked that. This is the Baofeng AR152 with a 48-inch Brie antenna. That would have made a difference. One thing I noticed with the Yaesu is it's Mars modded, and for whatever reason, the lowest power and the highest power don't make any difference whatsoever. Just throw that over there, clean it up later. All right, next we have this should be a quarter wave. I think the other one was 5/8 wave. This is about quarter wave, 18 or 19 inch. Brie tactical whip. This is the, why is it doing that? So So this keeps automatically switching to repeater offsets. So because I accidentally hit the frequency knob, it reset it. I don't know if that first test on the Yaesu worked or not, but oh well. This is the Yaesu VX6R with the 18-inch Abri tactical whip antenna. This is the Baofeng UV5R with the stock battery and the 18-inch antenna. This is the UV5R with the big battery 18-inch antenna. I was gonna have like ChatGPT come up with a whole bunch of nonsensical phrases to say through the radio, but I decided to just use my phone as a camera, and I don't want to spend that much time doing this video. I want to get this done as fast as possible because it's going to be 20 minutes of just sitting here changing antennas. And you know me, I don't like to cut my videos because I'm lazy. This is the Baofeng AR152 with the 18-inch Abri antenna. Should leave the volume up a little bit so I'm getting confirmation I didn't bump any settings. Alright, so the Abri whips are out of the way. I have the smallest and the largest that they provide. They do make other sizes. I have one that's like 42 inches and supposedly a GRMS antenna, but it doesn't work very well on GRMS. So I didn't even bother bringing it. This is the Nagoya NA30. Reminder that I'm supposed to be going to the gym and I'm not right now. Through OBS right now at about 50 megabytes a minute. So I'm gonna have about, I don't know, like 10 gigabytes, 10 to 20 gigabytes of video to go through if this takes a total of 2 hours to do the video and travel and all that. This is the Yaesu VX6R with the Nagoya NA30 antenna. I think they're getting ready for a little league game over there. So if you hear mowers and vehicles moving, that's what's going on. This is the UV5R with the big battery and the Nagoya NA30 antenna. I love the battery on the UV5R though. It's probably the easiest to swap. And the little button's satisfying. This is the UV5R with the stock battery and the NA30 antenna. I think my elevation's maybe 100 feet higher than my house. So. This is the Baofeng AR152 with the Nagoya NA30 antenna. Alright, so we got all the tactical whips out of the way. Let's go with one of my most disappointing antennas. This came with the AR152. It's the stock one. I didn't buy any of the Amazon packages, so this is what I got with it. And I think it's all right for 2 meters, but not anything else. This is the Yaesu VX6R with the stock AR152 antenna. I don't know why I forget the name of that radio every time. Actually, it mates really nice to the UV5R. This is the UV5R with the stock battery. I gotta keep my finger off the antenna. And the AR152 antenna. Oh, why did I do that? I need to swap the battery. I don't have... This is the UV5R with a big battery and the AR152 antenna. I don't have anything to really measure the signal to noise ratio. Why did I take that out? You're just gonna have to kind of audibly listen for the signal and visually watch the spectrogram to see how these compare. This is the AR152 with the stock AR152 antenna. Alright, so that antenna is out of the way. Let's go with the most common antenna you'll find in a kit, the Abri 771, not the Nagoya. I ironically don't own a Nagoya 771, but I do have two 771Gs for my GRMS radios and a 701G, but I have better antennas. It's kind of the gold standard, but I still have different antennas for my ham radios. This is the Yaesu VX6R with the Abri 771 antenna. Careful never to spin it by this because you can break the glue loose as most antennas are constructed. This is the UV5R with the Abri 771 antenna and a big battery. Why am I taking the antenna off? This is the UV5R with the stock battery and the Abri 771 antenna. Yes, I know I'm supposed to be at the gym right now. Very floppy. This is the AR152 with the Abri 771 antenna. Alright, that one's out of the way. Let's go with not the best antenna in the world, but my favorite jack of all trades, master of none antenna, the signal stick dual bander. This is the VX6R with the signal stick antenna. It also looks very good on Baofeng antenna mounts. This is the UV5R with the stock battery and the signal stick dual bander. No, leave that on, keep doing that. This is the UV5R with the big battery and the signal stick antenna. I keep taking the battery out. I'm not going to take it out. And I didn't accidentally. I bought the glow-in-the-dark one of these first because I thought glow-in-the-dark was cool. But I didn't see they had a brown, so I actually ordered this one twice. It goes well with the AR152. It sticks in there pretty deep. This is the AR152 with the signal stick antenna. I just want to make sure that I don't accidentally, for whatever reason, have tones set. That would suck. That would mean one entire radio is just not going to make it into the test, because I'm not redoing this. So this is Nagoya's nitinol antenna, Nagoya 24J. It's a dual bander, kind of like the signal stick. Doesn't look like the signal stick, it's a lot thinner. This is the Yaesu VX6 with the Nagoya NA24J antenna. This one I already, no, maybe it wasn't this one. One of them I broke the glue, but the antenna still works. This is the UV5R with a big battery and the Nagoya NA24 Juliet antenna. Hey, I didn't take the antenna off this time. This is the UV5R with the stock battery and the Nagoya NA24 Juliet antenna. antenna looks very strange on this radio because it's such a chungus radio and a tiny antenna. We'll get to something even worse than that later. This is the AR152 with the Nagoya NA24 Juliet antenna. Alright, that antenna's knocked out. And that is it for my long antennas. Let's go with the medium antennas, starting with the longest. You'll find this one with a lot of cheap radios, and they come with both ham radios and GRMS radios, even though they're ham antennas. But we'll see how they do on 2 meters. We'll just call this, I don't know, shiny stock antenna. This is the VX6 with the shiny stock antenna, Baofeng stock antenna. I wonder if somebody's just out there listening and being like, yeah, that one's a lot better. This is the UV5R with the stock battery and the shiny stock Baofeng antenna. This is the UV5R with a big battery and the shiny stock Baofeng antenna. Ooh, I did that backwards. The antenna comes off. I think these shorties do a lot better on 70 centimeters because they're about quarter wavelength. This is the AR152 with the shiny stock Baofeng antenna. Alright, that one's out of the way. We'll go with the matte Baofeng stock antenna next. This is the VX6R. Why is that so much louder? With the matte stock Baofeng antenna. This is the UV5R with a big battery and the matte stock Baofeng antenna. Oh, I messed up. I think it was 3 in a row not taking the antenna off when I didn't need to, and I just ruined it. This is the UV5R with a stock battery and a matte stock Baofeng antenna. Man, we are already up to 17 minutes on my phone just on this clip. This is the AR152 with the matte stock Baofeng antenna. Kind of breaking the law here, going more than 10 minutes without calling my call sign. What was I doing next? Oh, there it is. So this one actually comes with a lot of UV5Rs. I actually kind of like how it looks, but I don't know how it performs. And I'll probably never use it again. It'll just sit in my bag. This is the VX6R with the stock UV5R antenna. This is the UV5R with the stock battery and the stock UV5R antenna. This is the UV5R with a big battery and the stock UV5R antenna. This is the AR152 with the stock UV5R antenna. Alright, that antenna's out of the way. I think that is all the stock antennas. Now we get into the really weird category, the micro antennas. You got the springling antenna. You have the Abri 805S and the Diamond 805S, and they do actually measure differently. That's why I brought both of them. This one I originally bought for some of my GRMS radios, and I'm like, this is stupid, and I put the 701G on them, my GRMS 5Rs version of these. So we'll start with the springy antenna. Just call it that. I'm not going to call it the flaccid antenna over the radio. This is the VX6R with the springy antenna. These actually look really good on the UV5R too, if you're just going for looks. This is the UV5R with a big battery and the springy antenna. I don't know what that was. This is the UV5R with the stock battery and the springy antenna. Oh, I didn't need to take that out. Oh, I dropped it in the dirt and it just soaked up all the dirt. It's rubber. This is the AR152 with the springy antenna. Alright, so I'm going to put that in my bag because it likes to soak up dirt. Now, the Abri 805S. And I have two of each of these, and one of them measures better than the other, and I didn't see which was which, so we're just kind of getting quality control, I guess. This is the VX6R with the Abri AR805 Sierra antenna. These don't look bad on the bow things. They're just so rigid that if you put it in your pocket, it might break your radio. This is the UV5R with the stock battery and the Abri AR805 Sierra antenna. This is the UV5R with a big battery and the Abri AR805 Sierra antenna. This looks so wrong. Big battery, or big little antenna. This is the AR152 with the Abri AR805 Sierra antenna. Alright, now the rival antenna that surprisingly measures entirely differently, at least on the VNA. Now this one is a SMA male antenna, but to keep things fair, I'm just leaving this adapter on the entire time. Or not fair, but consistent. This is the Yaesu VX6R with the Diamond 805 Sierra antenna. This is the UV5R with the big battery and the Diamond 805 Sierra antenna. Now, keep the antenna in, take the battery out. This is the UV5R with the Diamond 805 Sierra antenna. This is the AR152 with the Diamond 805 Sierra antenna. I guess that microphone doesn't have very good wind resistance. I've seen people break these down, and I originally went with the Abri because it's basically a coil on there, which electrically makes the antenna the same length and adds some inductance to help. But there's a little capacitor going across inside, and I think there's two antennas, two coils to kind of try to make it a dual band. And this one's just a straight copper coil, which still works in theory. It's not the length of the wire that's in the coil. You actually do have to make the coil and you trim it because the coil becomes inductance, which makes your antenna electrically longer. On top of that, they both have not the best SWRs, but they are entirely usable. And now finally the final antenna. Where's the adapter for this? There it is. So again, I have the right adapter for this radio, the SMA male, but to keep things consistent, I'm leaving this adapter on because it's going to have a little bit of insertion loss. This is the Smiley 2-meter telescopic antenna. I'm just going to call it the Smiley antenna. So we'll do quarter meter and then 5/8, or not quarter meter, quarter wave in the down position and 5/8 in the up position. This is the VX6R with the Smiley quarter wave antenna. A big antenna. This might be the only one actually reaching home because it's tall enough. This is the Yaesu VX6R with the Smiley 5/8 wave antenna. I like Smileys because with this adapter, you can swap a whole bunch of monoband antennas and not wear out your port. And this, surprisingly, it's really close to 6 meters. So if you have a 6 meter antenna, like this unlocked VX6R, you can actually use it with an SWR about 4.0. This is the UV5R with the stock battery and the Smiley quarter wave antenna. This is the UV5R with the stock battery and the Smiley 5/8 wave antenna. Okay. A little digital squelch there for some reason. Why am I taking the antenna off? Battery's off. This is the UV5R with a big battery and the Smiley 1/4 wave antenna. This is the UV5R with a big battery and the Smiley 5/8 wave antenna. Last test. This is the Baofeng AR152 with the Smiley 5/8 wave, quarter wave antenna. This is the Baofeng AR152 with the Smiley 5/8 wave antenna. So that was all the radios. Well, not all my radios, but all that are worth testing for 2 meters. And basically I have my gold standard for a good HT, the VX6R, the gold standard for an affordable HT, the UV5R. All these, pretty much all modern UV5Rs are pretty clean radios. And then my biggest radio that claims it has the most wattage output, but it really doesn't, the AR152. And this is borderline dirty radio, but it looks cool, so it stays on my backpack. One thing I want to add, I totally forgot about this until now, is with these UV5Rs, everything is common ground. So the ground on the antenna, the ground on your audio ports, unfortunately, and the ground on your charging system are all the same ground. So what you can do is you can add a, I don't know what people call them, like a pigtail or whatever. I have a theory that just simply plugging in a USB cable into the bottom of one of these new USB models, you have your radio just hanging out the bottom of the radio. So I'm gonna try my strongest antenna, see if it makes a difference. This thing feels like it's gonna break the radio every time I put it on. There we go. This is the UV5R with the Abri 48-inch antenna and a USB cable hanging out the bottom, trying to use it as a radio. I'm about to unplug it. It is now currently unplugged. I just heard my receiving radio change, so maybe it did make a difference. We'll see when I get home. I want to try at least one more antenna. We'll do the signal stick, because this antenna, it's not loaded. So this is very similar to the 771, but the 771 is loaded in the base. This is just a straight element wire. So it has about, I think 70, in theory it should be like 72 ohms resistance instead of 50, and the SWR is not the best. But this might balance it out, I don't know. This is the UV5R with the signal stick and a USB cable hanging out the bottom, acting as a radio. I'm about to unplug it. This is without the USB cable hanging out the bottom like a radial. Let's do a setup that a lot of newcomers might have. This is the stock of our battery, or antenna. This is the stock battery. And this is very similar to, oh, I can't do that because the stock battery doesn't have USB. They do make the little batteries with a USB in it, but I'm not spending the same amount of money as this on one of those. This is the UV5R with the stock UV5R antenna, a big battery, no USB cable hanging out the bottom. I just now plugged in the USB cable to hopefully act as a radial coming out the bottom. Alright, so right about now I'm going to cut the video and give my call sign saying that I have ended all of my testing. I'm just going to make sure that signal gets out there. This concludes all of my radio and antenna tests. Have a nice day, 76, 73. So that's it. I'll have to review everything when I get home. Hopefully, at least some of the antennas came through. Again, it took me 5 miles to drive here. I think I'm about 4 miles from home. I'll just leave that on. And I think that's a very realistic scenario that a lot of people are going to be in. They're not very far from home, and both ends of the sender and receiver are going to be at ground level, and you're going to be in the city. I do mostly use my radios in the mountains, but I know a lot of viewers probably use these just day to day, realistically. So this is kind of a very harsh, realistic test. That's about 2 miles from home. This is the South Band, Air 152, 56 antenna, mobile on a bike, mounted on my backpack. Now it goes. Radio check. Waterburger, 2 miles, still South Band, Air 152, mounted on the backpack, mobile on. Alright, I just wanted to try a new test. See how it goes along both.